You don't stay awake just because your mind refuses to let things go. The truth is, you stay awake because some part of you still believes that if you analyze it long enough, you'll finally feel safe. By the end of this video, you'll see why the loop keeps returning, why it never gives you the answer you're looking for, and what your brain is actually trying to do. It's 2:47 in the morning. Your room is quiet. The conversation was 3 days ago, but somehow you're still stuck right inside it. You replay the pause before they answered, then the look on their face, then the exact sentence you wish you had said instead. Your body is exhausted. Your brain isn't. Part of you knows this isn't helping, but another part still feels like stopping would be a mistake. Because if you let it go too soon, you might miss something important. A detail, a pattern, an explanation. So the review continues. Not because the conversation matters as much as it used to, but because your brain still treats uncertainty like unfinished business. If that feels familiar, stay with me, because what keeps most people awake at night isn't the memory itself. It's the silent contract hiding underneath it. And once you see that contract, the entire loop starts to make sense. Let's start with what actually happens in those first few minutes when the replay begins. Lying in the dark, your body is completely exhausted, but your eyes are wide open, staring at the ceiling. You were ready to sleep. Then, one sentence from years ago walked right back into the room. It was just a small sentence, a casual remark from a conversation you thought was long gone. Again. It starts replaying in your head, over and over, like a stuck tape. You ask yourself, why am I still thinking about this? The truth is, the conversation ended years ago, but the replay didn't. The reason is, you are not losing sleep over the present, but over an old moment that your brain refuses to close. Your brain just detected something in the past that didn't match your expectations, and the cost is you are burning your energy on something that ended a long time ago. And the strange part is, your brain actually thinks it's helping. Your brain absolutely hates unfinished business. It treats uncertainty like a project that's missing its final piece. That is why you find yourself reading an old text message over and over again. You try to remember every single detail on someone's face in that exact moment. Then you rewrite your response in your head, coming up with a smarter, sharper comeback. You tell yourself, there has to be something I missed. The file stays open. This happens because of a prediction error in your brain, creating that uncomfortable feeling that something is left undone. And the cost is, your brain is forced to keep that entire event in your working memory. You aren't replaying the moment, you're replaying the gap. Do you know how much energy that burns? But eventually, the replay turns into something else. The problem is no longer just about one single conversation. It has evolved into something else entirely. Your brain begins to analyze every little microsignal around you, as if every single thing carries a deep, hidden meaning. A period at the end of a text message, a brief pause before someone answers you, or even just a nod that felt slightly unusual. You notice it instantly, telling yourself, that felt different. Everything becomes evidence. This happens because your brain is constantly looking for patterns to reduce uncertainty. But the price you pay for this habit is far too high. These tiny, meaningless details start consuming more of your energy than the actual event itself. Do you realize you are turning your own mind against you? The truth is, not every signal contains a hidden message. Not everyone is overthinking their actions. Yet, your brain refuses to stop, and it keeps collecting more data every single day. This is where the loop gets personal. You find yourself rehearsing conversations that haven't even happened yet. You prepare multiple versions of your response, previewing dozens of worst-case scenarios. You comfort yourself by thinking, if I can predict it, I can handle it. That's the deal you never signed. This happens because your brain is trying to turn the future into something predictable. Beneath all that overanalyzing is a core belief that if you just understand enough, you will be safe. But the cost is heavy. You are living in a simulation more than you are living in reality. You stopped looking for answers. Instead, you started looking for safety. And that belief usually starts much earlier than people realize. Some people learned vigilance before they learned rest. As a child, you constantly had to read the moods of the adults around you. You walked into a room and immediately scanned the atmosphere. You always knew, instinctively, when something bad was about to happen. You told yourself, stay ready. The threat left. The training stayed. This happens because your nervous system learned hypervigilance from the environments that once demanded it. That alertness became your default setting. But the cost is, safety still feels fragile, even when all the real danger is long gone. Your body may be safe, but your brain's prediction system isn't convinced. And that's why exhaustion feels different for you. The damage rarely looks dramatic. You are out with friends, but your mind is somewhere else entirely. You are sitting in a meeting, but your thoughts are still circling around yesterday. It is your day off, yet your brain doesn't take a single second off. You whisper to yourself, I'm here, central to this moment, but not really. It leaks. This happens because your attention resources are constantly pulled back toward those unopened loops. And the biggest cost, the one nobody sees, is not that you lose sleep. It is that you lose the ability to be present. You lose peace. You burn through your energy. You don't just lose sleep. You lose moments. So, why doesn't the loop ever finish? This is the part most people never notice. You find yourself replaying the exact same memory dozens of times. No new information ever appears, yet you keep analyzing it anyway. You keep whispering to yourself, just one more review. The answer isn't missing. This happens because your brain is looking for certainty, not information. But the cost is, you are chasing a mission that is literally impossible to complete. The loop survives simply because certainty doesn't exist. No amount of overanalyzing will ever eliminate the unpredictability of life. Once you see that, everything changes. The goal was never silence. Instead, you can start by writing your thoughts down on a piece of paper. You schedule a specific time tomorrow to deal with them, and you choose to step back and observe those thoughts, rather than jumping into them and acting them out. You tell yourself gently, I don't need to solve this tonight. Let the file exist. This happens because your brain receives a clear signal that the data has been noted and a plan is in place. The biggest reward is that you break the self-sustaining loop. The core of this goal is not to stop thinking, but to completely change your relationship with your thoughts. Rest begins when uncertainty stops feeling like danger. Looking back at this journey, which pattern do you recognize most in yourself? Maybe the real problem was never the conversation. Maybe it was the belief that every uncomfortable feeling must be solved before you can rest. For years, your mind treated uncertainty like a loose thread, something dangerous, something unfinished. So it kept pulling and pulling, even when there was nothing left to find. The exhaustion didn't come from thinking. It came from turning every unknown into a responsibility. Some people move through life collecting answers. You move through life collecting patterns. That's why a pause stays with you. That's why a small shift in someone's tone can follow you home. Not because you're weak, because your attention rarely stops at the surface. The loop gets quieter the moment you stop asking uncertainty to become certainty. I'm curious about one thing. What is the thought your mind keeps reopening long after the moment is over? Not the whole story, just the sentence that keeps returning. If these conversations help you see your own patterns a little more clearly, you'll probably find something useful in the next one too. Tonight, if an old memory shows up again, notice what you're searching for before you follow it. The answer isn't always hiding in the memory. Sometimes it's hiding in the search itself.